Greetings, fellow Splat Pack members. Tiki here.
I'm Blue Dragon 5.
And Sandy Claus.
You guessed it, we're back and feeling particularly nostalgic, or more accurately, Nick-stalgic. So much so, we're looking back on the live-action Nickelodeon movies of our youth, and who knows, maybe a few comebacks and surprises along the way for...
Nick.
Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon. That was all over the place.
Oh! All right.
You know, next time we're gonna have to talk about Hotel for Dogs. We never talked about that, did we?
Oh no, we never did.
I saw that in theaters when it came out.
Oh man. All right, can someone please ask me what we're talking about tonight?
Tiki, what are we talking about tonight?
Nacho!
That's too good.
Nacho! Oh man.
Well, that's correct.
Okay. So here's the deal, folks. I'm just gonna dive right into it with my nostalgia for this thing. I only saw this thing once in theaters. I don't remember particularly liking it. I remember coming off of the big Napoleon Dynamite boom, and I was like, well, this is just kind of like, it's... Okay, here's the thing. A, this movie kicks the shit out of Napoleon Dynamite, all right? Just in terms of like a pure storytelling and visual point of view. This is way better than Napoleon Dynamite. B, I think much like Napoleon Dynamite, a lot of the charm of this movie comes in the rewatchability of it, because they're much like Napoleon Dynamite. There are so many little quirky, like, avenues of this movie that it goes down. This very much feels like the most auteur Nickelodeon movie that they ever did as a studio. Rewatching this today, I was so pleasantly surprised. I mean, this holds up tremendously well in my eyes.
I would definitely have to agree. I think for all the reasons you stated, also the fact that this is a movie that takes place in the 60s, you know, so it kind of has that, it has that timeless quality to it of, you know, this Mexican wrestler type, this culture. It feels very quality. It feels really timeless, you know.
Dragon. Yes, Nacho, from what I recall, Nacho was a phenomenon back in '06. It was everywhere. I saw it was advertised everywhere, and of course, I would say second to School of Rock. It's definitely a Jack Black go-to, I think, for a lot of people.
Oh, we're sharing our nostalgia for it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, Sandy. That's the idea. I thought you were making it short and sweet. Do you have anything else to add?
Well, I never saw this movie in the theater. I saw this on DVD on a computer at home, and I loved it. My whole family loves it. My cousins quote the heck out of this movie. They're probably the biggest Nacho fans in the face of the earth. So
nice.
So yeah, I've always loved this movie. I think it's one of Jack Black's best by far. I think it's perfect.
I think this is one of the more auteur Jack Black movies as well, man. I mean, it really did strike me just how much of a vision this thing has, just how unique it is.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, Dragon.
All right, so getting back to my thought. Sorry, just got a little interrupted there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dragon.
No, it was good stuff though. But what I'm saying is, yeah, this for many people, I imagine, is a go-to. Of course, I was thinking kind of Jack Black in the early days was probably going to be School of Rock as kind of the better example, and they had this. And I feel at the end of the day, looking, I experienced Nacho on. I saw the advertising, but I was there for the DVD, kind of like I was with Sears Unfortunate Events, just like kind of with the Nick movies, as it were, I guess. This, Nacho Libre, at the end of the day, it's kind of a silly comedy between a School of Rock and kind of a Nickelodeon movie fare, if you will. I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just kind of trying to pinpoint it where quite it lies here. It's there. At the end of the day, there's not really a lot to it, but basically, you're sold on Jack Black being kind of fun and charming. That's kind of the movie, and that's kind of enough for it. I think I wouldn't go as far as to say it's perfect, but I would say for what it's trying to be, assuming I can kind of sniff out what it's trying to be here, I think it's achieving what it sets out to do. I think it has something special to it. I'm not sure if it fully taps into that as kind of where I'd like it to be, but I think a lot of that's there, and I think a lot of it kind of is why it kind of stands out, why people's have kind of there's a fondness to Nacho, even if the critics don't love it. I think there's a fondness to it, and I feel it's kind of special.
And this is a great example of a movie really going above and beyond, taking advantage of its music and how the music affects the actual story and the characters and and what you're feeling, because the music in this movie is it's so unique and so flavorful. It's got to be one of my favorite soundtracks, and I don't think they actually released a soundtrack for this on CD. I think it's pretty much just been an amalgamation of different stuff people have assembled online, because I know I have a CD, I forget the artist, but it's that song in the beginning. I think it's towards the beginning. It's called Mucho Muchacha. You guys remember that?
Oh, it's a good one.
Yeah. I have that on DVD. It's this bachelor pad dance mix from the late 90s. So they just took a whole bunch of stuff from all over the place and had some original stuff as well. But it's a really flavorful mix of this this culture. What is this? It's not. I don't think it's Mexican, right? It's more.
Well, no, it is. Well, it's set in Mexico, so I mean,
yeah,
by proxy. Well,
not all of it.
The whole thing, right?
Anyways, I know there's a certain title for that genre. Anyways, you guys know what I mean.
I was just gonna go with indie movie, but sure. Anywho, yeah, so I guess the point being, I think all around there's definitely one of the most nostalgic picks that we have in our lineup of Nickelodemonth, quite possibly one of the very nostalgic pick for sure.
I mean, I'd say Good Burger is kind of like the bad nostalgia. It's like when you realize that Dan Schneider is in the background of the shots, eyeing Kel Mitchell and saying that he loves him and thanking him for his sauce. Like, that's the bad nostalgia.
You just had to take it there, didn't you?
Snow Day is the good nostalgia, though, and this falls in line with a snow day.
I think if we're looking for, the Series of Unfortunate Events is probably the best one out of the bunch there. But I mean,
Series of Unfortunate Events is also the one I have the least amount of nostalgia for, just because my nostalgia for that series will always lie in the books.
Sure, but of course, I mean, in terms of like the DVD release, let me say something about that too, because again, as Sandy and I are kind of simpatico when our first experiencing this film was on DVD on home video, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, I dived into the bonus features. I was glowing about the bonus features on a Series of Unfortunate Events, which are wonderful and tremendous. There's an excellent commentary track on that, so farcical and delightful. The one here, however, well, not so much.
Well, let me just say this before we get any deeper. 2005 was a really good year for family movies. We got Night in the Museum, we got Nacho, we got Madagascar. Corpus Bride came out too. I don't think it exactly fits in with that mix, but that was a good year for family films.
You know what's strange? I like you saying I could have sworn it was 2005. I looked at it, I think it said 2006.
Really?
Sandy, I swear, I was assuming 2005, and I looked at it today. It was 06.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Well, that was a good era for kids' movies then. The mid 2000s. Anyways,
didn't mean the sandbag there, Sandy.
that's all right. I'm glad you did, because I always thought.
But I think this movie holds up so much better than like other gimmicky live action comedies of the time, like like the Kangaroo Jacks of the world.
Oh gosh.
Oh, Kangaroo Jackson. Oh, that's a whole thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's one of the most deceptive marketing campaigns you've ever seen.
Okay, you know what? Forget about Nacho Libre. Let's just talk about Kangaroo Jack.
So Michael Shannon's in it for starters.
I think we're all equally prepared to do that.
No, I was disgusted as a kid by that movie. I've never liked it. Never liked
it. A hip. Yeah, better to shut the fuck up. Anyways.
Anywho, Christopher Walken's aside, let's get back on point here.
Yes.
Yes, I guess getting to the background a little bit. So there's now, as I was kind of hinting of the commentary, folks, I got to tell you, not the most informative commentary you're going to see, just pretty much just Jack Black and friends just kind of sitting back and enjoying their own work while they're eating throughout the commentary. So So yeah, not a lot to glean there, but I did dig up a few things here in the background. So this was directed by Jared Hess. Now, Jared Hess, as Tiki was kind of speaking of earlier, this is the same director who brought you Napoleon Dynamite.
Gosh.
Yes, it was written by basically Jared Hess. He kind of writes with his wife, so he and his wife did this along with Mike White. Mike White, of course, who brought us School of Rock.
And Mike White is also the third place finisher on Survivor: David versus Goliath.
Now, I have to ask this out of pure curiosity. I have to ask this: is it the same Mike White, or is it just an extreme coincidence?
No, it's the same Mike White.
The skinny Mike White.
It is the same White. I swear to God, it's the same Mike White. On the first episode, everyone
like the real Ned Schneebly.
Everyone recognizes him from School of Rock on the first episode. Dragon, this is why you should watch Survivor.
Not exactly.
It's got fun social dynamics like this.
Not exactly the most glowing recommendation, but I take your point. Anyway, the point being is you definitely have some familiarity with Jack Black via Mike White working on that project. We got our Napoleon Dynamite director, and let's see. So this is loose. Believe it or not, this is loosely a biopic. Very loosely.
Yeah.
This is loosely based on the story of Sergio Gutierrez, otherwise known as his wrestling name, Frey Tormenta, if I get that right. The idea, basically, there was a friar around the 70s. There was a friar who was trying to turn the luchador had like a 23-year wrestling career, if I'm right. He did all this to support the orphans at his monastery.
Really?
I believe it was a monastery. They basically
I never knew that.
So again, Nacho is inspired by, again, a helpful thing. It would have been really nice to get into in the commentary, but they never did. But yeah, it's... And sorry, I don't mean to keep ragging on him. Just again, I'm glowing after Lemony Snicket and then going to that. So yeah.
Yeah, 2005 era Jack Black. How dare you be lazy at a commentary?
You say that, but it's like literally. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, they're literally just eating through it the whole thing and just kind of saying, "Oh, look, you got your shirt off for a lot of the movie." Yeah, I do.
Dragon, you know nothing of bad commentaries until you suffered through a Matt Stone and Trey Parker commentary, all right? So don't even talk.
Well, now I'm interested. Like, how bad?
They just get drunk and leave whenever they feel like it, all right?
I know about some... I can top your leaving stuff, man. I can top your leaving. Anyway, we don't get into that. Regardless, sorry, getting back on play. Not a whole lot left here, folks, so I'm being a little kind of song and dancey with it here. But no, seriousness. It's... Basically, it was a fun shoot, and basically the only thing they really revealed on said commentary was that, except for a lot of Montezuma's Revenge, it was a fun shoot. You know, a lot of Montezuma's Revenge kind of hit them.
Oh boy!
And you imagine, especially when you
not the roller coaster at Knott's Berry Farm.
No, we're talking Montezuma's Revenge.
What do you mean? What is that exactly?
Montezuma's Revenge is, let's just say it's, you want to boil your water when you go to Mexico. At least, I would like to assume that's gotten way better in the later years, but for a long period, I mean, this is going back to 2005 and 6, depending on when they shot this. It's still kind of a problem. The idea that Mexico's water supply many times can be, well, let's just say tainted, for lack of a better word. The water supply is just not... it's not good to ingest. That's why you want to bring either bottled water or your own water, or vice versa. You never drink from the tap in Mexico, essentially. Again, hopefully that is not the case today, but I wouldn't know. I mean, let me put it this way. You'll hear horror. Sandy, if you ever look into the making of Total Recall, you will hear horror stories. I'll tell you that much, my friend, because they shot there and to kind of replicate the landscape of Mars, and it's not pretty.
Well, I'd imagine this was probably a very hot shoot, too.
That, too. Heat does not help that at all, either.
Yeah, because, I mean, if most of the movie, take this image, for example. There's not any trees around, like if they're outside and out in the town or around the monastery. There's not too much shade, you know.
Pretty much Albuquerque on steroids, one might argue.
Yeah.
Anyway, so speaking of the music earlier, so this was scored by Beck and Danny Elfman. So Danny Elfman did the score for this,
and he did not like it at all. Does not like talking about it.
A lot of that was I heard a lot of that was because of Beck. I heard a lot of that because basically Beck was originally brought on. Then basically they had issues with Beck. I believe they kept a few songs. I don't know if Beck made all the song choices that really worked for the movie. I'm not sure. I'd like to think that was Elfman, but I don't know. And
well, I know Elfman definitely did like the score of like when the I am at the very end when he's wrestling Ramses. He did the extended score bit for that. Things like that.
All right, it's cool.
Ramses' theme, which is one of the best elfin pieces ever.
Yep. Okay. One last fun fact. Tiki's really going to enjoy here. Tiki, there's a familiar face in the star of this movie. The actor playing young Nacho. It's an actor from the Goldbergs, if you can believe it or not.
Oh no.
It's Troy Gentile. Gentile,
Okay.
I should say that. But Barry. It's Barry from the Goldbergs.
God.
See, here's the thing. I knew in the Goldbergs they made reference to he used to be kind of chubby as a kid, but I gotta tell you, I always thought that was manufactured for the show. I didn't know it was like a real thing.
Yeah. Right.
Trippy. But of course, he grew up to. He does look remarkably like Nacho in this movie, though. It's insane.
Oh,
He's a dead ringer for Jack Black in the future. I got to be honest.
that's crazy.
Of course, that acting. Seriously, Troy Gentile. He's an excellent actor too. By the way, and he's one of my picks for Sipka. If we ever got to the Just Giggle biopic, I think he's great.
All right.
Anywho, yeah, let's press on.
Okay, Dragon, regale us with this very complicated plot, please.
All right, boys, gonna need a flow chart in here. Okay, no, here's. All right, so in Mexico, a young orphan raised friar dreams of lucha libre, but the monastery that he inhabits forbids this. This changes once the monastery runs low on food supplies. Nacho, our hero, seeks the help of a thief to tag team wrestle with. Despite losing, they continue to make money, and they continue this through the course of the movie. Eventually, Nacho is discovered for wrestling, which is very frowned upon by the monastery. In essence, his hopes are dashed until a technicality allows him to face his idol, Ramses, for around 10,000 pesos. The grand prize to the 10,000 peso grand prize in order to give it to the orphans. Nacho is victorious, and we all live happily ever after all.
All right. So we're going to break it down based on characters this time, folks, because this very much is kind of a character piece. So, of course, what appropriate way to start than let's start with Rex Kwon Do. No, wait, different Jared Hess movie. All right. In all seriousness, let's start with Nacho. All right.
Yes, I didn't know. I didn't know Michael Mandow was in this movie. Did you?
God.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. Getting back on point.
This is one of Jack Black's best performances, I think.
Yes.
Jack Black has such an air of humanity in this role.
He does, and it kind of grounds, like, as silly as the movie can get, we ground it with such a relatable character. So it's kind of like a humanity within that performance. There's a charm and a fun to him,
I mean, it's almost kind of like hard to put into words how likable he is in this movie. He's got like this sense of innocence about him. This like, he's almost like childlike. Dare I say, there's a little bit of like a Weird Al vibe I'm getting from him, just in terms of like his demeanor.
Well, you never for 1 second doubt that he's always trying to help the orphans. That's what he wants. You
totally, exactly.
It.
Yeah, he's basically he's a pleasant guy serving a higher calling, and he knows this, but he just kind of he kind of hits a rut, and he just feels something about him as being unrealized, underutilized, and basically it's kind of an underdog pursuing his passion. That's kind of the movie it is that we get through Nacho,
Yeah.
I guess he kind of goes on an arc of like doing what it's like. Basically, the lesson in the movie for him is like do what you love, but do it for the right reasons, which is a good message.
It is.
And he always tries, even though he basically is kind of the Ed Wood of wrestling. That's kind of what Nacho is at the end of the day. It's kind of the Ed Wood of wrestling. I was like, he fails so much, but again, you root for the guy. I love the guy. He means, he's trying to.
I got to admit, that's one of the things that kind of like threw me off the first time I watched this movie. One of the many things that threw me off was how much he actually lost. And looking back on it now, it's totally part of his character that he gets his ass handed to him pretty much every time he entered the ring. But I feel like the marketing kind of hyped up that, Nacho Libre was going to be this kick-ass wrestler. And, in reality, the movie is kind of like, more of a sad sack betrayal. It's like the fun Mickey Rourke, the wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right.
So let's talk about Steven.
This guy's the best character in the movie.
Steven's great.
He's so fun.
So let's see. So Steven. So basically, we have
I
he's
just
kind of
love his introduction where he just jumps down like a damn ninja and steals the chips.
You know, I think his character is even more believable than Jack Black's, because he naturally does have, if you watch any of the interviews with him, he naturally does have that broken English, and it's like he's just you really believe it's like this guy is just from the streets of Mexico, and he's just like reacting to what Jack Black's doing. She's like, what the heck?
Yeah, Hector
He just
Jimenez.
had such an air of authenticity to the movie.
Yeah.
Hector Jimenez is really good in this.
He is.
So let's see.
And
So
that's one of the things that I feel like Jared Hess does really well, because when he did Napoleon Dynamite, he casted a bunch of local Idaho school kids. And I feel like much of the same thing probably went down in this movie. Dragon, this is probably a tidbit that you wish you would have gotten in the commentary. I feel like I'm sure that Jared Hess probably went to local, Mexico schools and school groups and stuff like that to pull kids for the orphanage. I'm sure he probably hired local actors, this guy probably being one of them.
Well,
and it just gives Jared Hess's films just a, say what you will about Napoleon Dynamite, but I feel like Napoleon Dynamite is a charming little movie if it didn't blow up and become so quotable and memeable. You know what I mean? I feel like Napoleon Dynamite is kind of like a Nightmare Before Christmas situation where the culture around it kind of like overshadows the movie itself.
Yeah.
Vote for Pedro and all that.
Exactly. I think Napoleon Dynamite is a damn charming movie, man. I really do.
How is it that Jared Hess always he's always perfect at casting Mexican characters?
You know what's
exactly.
funny? One thing that they did, one thing that actually they did say on the commentary, it wasn't super reliant to the movie, but when they mentioned, I don't know how true it is, but what they said is that, the critics apparently they accused him of being basically unflattering towards Mexican actors, because he cast them with basically cast like a character looking like Steven did at the start, and they thought basically kind of some of the critics were saying like, oh look, he's saying really offensive things about Mexican stereotypes and everything.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's the thing. That's one of the things that I really like about this movie is that this movie, it feels dirty. You know what I mean? Like this movie's got a little bit of a grime to it.
It feels authentic. It feels. It's like basically. Yeah. I liken it to Albuquerque casting, where we cast regular-looking people that look like they're from the real world, and kind of like a Better Call Saul or a Breaking Bad situation. We kind of do that a little bit here. We're just casting, the true. We're not trying to glam it up for Hollywood. It's like, no, this is what it would look like.
Sure.
In terms of the Steven character, think about it. He's so likable, despite the fact that at the start of this movie, he's a thief stealing chips from orphans. And remember, it's not that we know that he knows this because the bag is labeled for the orphans.
For the orphans, yes. That's kind of like one of the magic tricks this movie pulls, is just making him the most likable character in the movie in spite of that introduction.
And his life is, and I guess the arc is really nice, where his life is changed by Nacho.
And of course, Dragon, of course. He hates all the orphans.
Yes, don't jump ahead. Don't deflate your own thing.
All right.
He does, though. He does initially. So, that's the thing. His life is kind of changed by Nacho. It's kind of fascinating. He's kind of the polar opposite. With that introduction, he's the polar opposite of Nacho. His lifestyle and everything.
You know what I love is. I'm sorry. You know what I love is I love how naturally Nacho and his relationship develops. It's like there's not really a big inciting incident beyond just him stealing the chips. It's just like, Nacho sees that he's pretty skilled at fighting, and he's like, hey, you know what? I'm looking for a partner. Let's do this. There's no theatricality to it. It's just kind of like Nacho definitely sees sees an in for this guy, and he also wants to help this guy too, and that's another quality that we get about Nacho is, how he wants to bring this guy off the streets and help him in spite of all this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's him kind of doing his monthly duty as well as his friar, not his monthly. He's doing his friar duty. He's also kind of helping people at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But those kind of interesting. Again, he's kind of the complete opposite of Nacho there, where he's he's alone. He has no family, he has no support system like Nacho has in the monastery, and they kind of changes him by the end of the movie there.
Yeah. Yeah, really good stuff. I think he's probably the most quotable character in the movie.
Steven?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
I don't know. I think a
I
lot
don't
of his
believe.
quotes
I
are
don't.
really funny.
I don't believe in God. I believe in science.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, yes, he is the Pedro of this movie, and I can understand that argument. I can, but I think he's a lot more authentic than Pedro.
Yeah.
Like if I were Hispanic myself, I'd take way more offense to Pedro than I would to this guy, honestly.
It's kind of nice that Nacho, they both basically their dynamic is they bring out the potential within each other. Are they victorious? No, but again, do they bring out something in each other that's positive and kind of makes the other one a little bit better and kind of gets them to closer to a dream or kind of gets them closer to a better life? They do, and it's kind of nice.
Mhm.
One other thing, kind of just looking at it on on the rewatch here, it's kind of nice that in society, Stephen, he's looked down upon by others, but in the ring, he's respected. He's beaten, mind you, but he's respected.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, he's beaten. I don't mean he just loses. I mean, oh my god, like the guy's beating Merle. People tear his hair out, but again, they love him. And again, he wonderfully does come around the orphans. I do love the bit where I love the bit where he saves the orphan and basically kind of takes out the one, the one guy.
How
Yeah,
about how about the flashback gag where he's remembering running over El Silencio's bunions?
That's exactly yes. That's the
Oh yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Gosh.
All right, so let's talk about Encarnacion.
All right, yeah, this is a very, very pleasant character. I like that it's not necessarily a love interest. It's more of like a moral support system. But I like that we have the whole idea where it could potentially blossom into a romantic thing if they want it to in the future. Because these are two independent adults, they can make their own decisions. They don't necessarily have to stick to the religion all their life. But regardless, I like how Jack Black, he's very humble about the fact that since she's a nun, there's obviously not going to be any romantic tension between them. But he wants to be there for her. You know what I mean? He wants there to be a spark. I don't know. It's a very interesting. It's not your typical Hollywood romance by any stretch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's beautiful, she's pleasant, she cares about her role as a nun, being there for the kids as well, so she and Nacho definitely have some common ground going there. I think, in essence, she kind of represents the lesson that Nacho needs to learn through the course of the movie. Someone who accepts their role, and the idea is like Nacho, he accepts his role, but he's not really taking happiness in his role, because, he just kind of has that hilarious scene where he says, my life is good, I sleep alone at night, and I make the stew. But again, that's the lesson. That's the thing. He's not really taking joy in life, and through her, and just he kind of learns to kind of fuse the two things together to kind of enjoy. Basically, Nacho doesn't necessarily change in what he does, but he kind of takes a joy out of it like she does. That's the thing. He just needs to find it in his own way, and she's kind of the bridge to getting to that point in the story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Also, I think she definitely feels sympathy for Nacho, and again, she does reciprocate his feelings a little bit. It's like that's as far as we need to go in it. It's the fact that she reciprocates and he knows that she reciprocates. It doesn't need to be anything beyond that. It's the fact, even if she can't act on the feelings, it's the fact that he knows that she also feels the same way. Whether they never even act on it ever, it's there.
Yeah, and I love how charmingly simple that is. It's like the movie equivalent of the Beatles' "I Want to Hold Your Hand." You know what I mean? It's just
Exactly.
there's an innocence to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Are we going to talk about that that pervy friar who's always trying to make a move on her?
Oh, that guy. Yeah, that's the guy with the reverse mustache.
Oh yeah,
and the slick back haircut.
He is a perfect example of like a weird Jared Hess side character. Like I think he'd probably be like the Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite, maybe.
In a set, well, I guess as far as weirdness goes, I guess yeah. But as far as
Yeah.
character goes, not really.
He's just
No,
mean
Uncle
and
Rico is
lazy.
a far better character. Don't get me wrong, but
If you look at this guy, he's just so mean and lazy because like just not doing anyone any harm, and he just like tells him like, where are the chips? Where are the salsa? He's just these. Where's the spice within this? Where's the and he's
just one of the best lines in the film. Have you not realized I've had diarrhea since Easter?
God.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's just always just trying to kick a ball. He's like, again, like you're not gonna you're gonna tell him you're not gonna give him money for the ingredients. No, you want him to find it on his own. That guy. Anyway, so let's talk about Chancho.
Chancho, yes, Chancho.
Young Lord to Nacho.
Yeah, he's adorable, man. I love this kid.
We have our lead orphan in the bunch here, and kind of Nacho is his role model, which is nice.
Yeah, he's also, I feel like correct me if I'm wrong, he's the only one that picks up on the fact that Nacho is Nacho, right?
Yeah, he's the only one who finds it because they have the Spider-Man moment together.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes, Chancho, sometimes when you are a man, sometimes you wear stretchy pants in your room. Stretchy pants in your room.
This movie is so damn quotable, man. That's the thing. It really is.
I like that Nacho for all the kids. I mean, I even like the one kid that wants the salad. That kid's nice too. I like the fact
that was a nice payoff. And I gotta say, all those salads looked really tasty.
They did. And they're all nice and unique to each kid. That's really adorable.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the salad kid was one of the main characters in Hotel for Dogs, right?
I buy that. I think you might be right on that. I don't know 100%, but regardless,
I've never seen Hotel for Dogs, Sandy.
Nor have I. Nor have I ever had even the slightest desire to see Hotel for Dogs.
Same.
You don't need to see it. It's.
I have very low tolerance for dog movies, like dogs that have like a gimmick with a dog. I really can't stand it.
Like a dog's purpose and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you see one stupid dog movie,
A Dog's Way Home.
Yeah, it's like
a
it's like
Dog's
the ultimate
Journey to Electric Boogaloo.
It's like the ultimate dog cash grab.
The only dog movies that matter, I'm going to list them on 2 fingers here. The only dog movies that matter: All Dogs Go to Heaven and probably Homeward Bound.
I would argue Old Yeller too.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Old Yeller as well. So 3.
I'm sure there's a few others, but
What about Cujo?
Well, okay. Well, in terms, I can't.
Now we're splitting hairs with quality here.
Okay, the point being, let's just assume there's at least one hand's worth of legit dog movies. The rest are probably just cash-ins. All right.
Oh God.
Anyway, getting back, what I like about Nacho is that Nacho is kind of a great bridge in between
Oliver and Company.
Well, that's. The cat's the lead. It doesn't.
I know. I'm just fucking with you. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, where was that? Oh, right. So the point being, so Nacho's kind of an in between. Basically, he walks 2 worlds. Kind of walks between the world of the adults and the children. The children respect him for this. It's not just they're not listening to him because he's just the authority figure. They're listening to him because they like Nacho. They respect him. He's kind of like because he's a kid who grew up in the monastery. Basically just given a job in there. It's kind of what unless they ever get adopted, that's kind of probably what their slot in life is around there. Be my guess.
Yeah.
So he knows the secret. He sticks up for him. I love it when Chancho sticks up for Nacho. He's like, Ramsey's is the greatest. He's not the greatest. Gives him that wink. It's like, oh man, that's adorable. Nice. Also, gives him machete. The machete bit's adorable too.
Yeah. Yes. And it also adds a little bit of pathos.
Yeah, and his mother used the machete.
Does no one else want to question the fact that this orphan just has a machete sitting outside in a flower pot?
Remember, it belonged to his mother.
I know, but it's just sitting outside in a flower pot, and then we could just steal it and just.
I don't think Cool Cat would approve of that from a safety point of view.
To be fair, I would imagine it'd be confiscated if he kept it on him around at all times. But it's a fair point, though. Not really much of a security, unless it has like a bike lock or something, which I doubt it has.
We're gonna let Daddy Derek down.
All right. Let's not go down the Cool Cat rabbit hole. I just wanted to dip my toe into it.
Anywho, in speaking a smidge of Ramses, maybe we should talk about him.
This guy's fucking ridiculous, dude.
And a real wrestler in real life, too.
Really?
Yeah.
That probably explains his stage presence, which he just has a ton of.
I want to say I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say all the wrestlers that Nacho goes up against are, in fact, real wrestlers.
I can totally buy that.
If not all, then most. Like 80% of them are real wrestlers. I know that much. Ramses is cool.
I first of all, my favorite part of Ramses is the lion gimmick, like the two lion kids that he has, like the lion guys.
Well, no, the Satan's cavemen, Tiki.
Okay, I'm sorry, they look like lions. All right, they
Well, I think you
like
just have lions. You have lions on the brain ever since that recent Disney trauma, my friend.
Well, maybe I do, Dragon. I still haven't gotten over it.
Okay, regardless, Satan's
I'm
cavemen.
shedding a
Yes.
single tear right now.
Well, I think you're trying to get is that he's friends with like the kind of the community. He's friends with all the wrestlers that Nacho goes up against.
Yes. I'm sorry. That is what I'm getting at. Yes, I like how he's got all these different wrestlers at his beck and call, essentially, kind of backing him up.
Yep, and of course, if you kind of notice, the way Nacho kind of loses that one kind of battle royale match is one of his friends kind of tips him over, perhaps out of a sense of loyalty towards Ramses, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ramses, I think, is a great representation within the story. He represents fame and basically the fame and the ugly side of wrestling at the same time. There, he's everything that Nacho wants, but also everything that Nacho could risk becoming. Basically, everything the monastery fears Nacho could become. If basically fears in wrestling that people become false idols is exactly what Ramses is in this movie. It's almost like the narratives of wrestling. You have like you good guy wrestlers and bad guy wrestlers. Like a good guy wrestler
is definitely a heel.
Yeah, the good guy turned into a heel. You know, it's kind of the Hulk Hogan story, if you will. That one Andre the Giant thing, even.
Right.
Anywho, so it's kind of definitely a cautionary tale on mistaking strength for good. One could say, if you want to kind of look at it in that context. Where he's the strongest.
I feel like there's a little bit of an Apollo Creed going on here as well.
Well, how so?
Just in the fact that it's like like the whole idea of like him challenging a like a newcomer and like kind of like the underdog getting the victory and stuff like that. I don't know. I think there's a little bit of a shade of Rocky in this movie.
I see,
especially with him as like the big kind of like the over the top kind of self promoter.
It shapes up like that, but remember, he doesn't orchestrate that fight. Nacho Lux.
No, I know he doesn't.
But you're right. It does have kind of a vibe.
I'm just saying, like circumstantially, it's vaguely kind of like the Apollo Creed thing.
Yeah, I see your point. Yeah. So
all right.
So yeah. Oh, one of the things, it's kind of, I like how non-verbal Ramses is. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's talking to his buddies. At least we assume he is, because you can't really make out the conversation, but they're hearing him, so presumably he's saying something. But on the whole, again, there's kind of where Nacho is such a human character that we see beyond the mat, we see him unmasked and everything, all that. Where Ramses is his wrestler's like kind of personifies that. He doesn't speak in the ring, he wears the mask all the time. He oils up like crazy, he's just he's the perspective of a pro. Like at one time, maybe he started off like Nacho, and then of course he's kind of lost his humanity as he's going on the wrestling circuit. He kind of lost what he fights for, where Nacho knows what he fights for in the orphan.
Dragon, I have a theory that the reason why Ramses gets so upset with Nacho and the orphans is because he was an orphan, and the whole wrestling thing was kind of his escape, and that kind of ate up his entire life.
That's a good theory. I never thought. I like that.
Silver King, who plays Ramses in this movie, is absolutely terrific. He actually died about a year ago, or less than a year ago.
Oh no!
It's really sad. It was a sad day.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, he died in the ring, so at least he went down with honor,
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if it's like he went down in the ring, he took a chance he shouldn't have, but I mean, hey, he died doing what he loved.
Yeah,
died doing what he loved is definitely the best way to look at that situation for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Okay, let's pro-con this thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we already went over a lot of the pros. I think it definitely has that Jared Hess seal of like quirky, like lived in community that he did really well in Napoleon Dynamite, and I think he pulls off just as well here.
Yeah.
It was very quotable.
Much like Napoleon Dynamite, yes.
Jack Black's performance as well as Hector Jimenez. Boys, honestly, all the performances all around are pretty solid. So
all the characters are really, really likable.
Yeah.
And I think there's some unconventional choices, like, not making the love interest overtly romantic. There's some bold choices in the narrative, especially, like the way that this movie kind of has like a slice of life vibe to it, where it doesn't necessarily feel like a big 3-act structure. Although there is certainly a low of low moment and a silly moment where, the main characters part ways and then they're going to get back together. But it's played for laughs, and we'll get there. We'll get there.
TK, I gotta be honest, I don't really think they officially parted ways at that point. I just think they had an argument and then he just went to do something. I don't really think there was a split. And
that goes to my point, Dragon. That goes to my point, is that this movie is very much slice of life. There's not a ton of big dramatic stakes, but I like that about this movie. This movie, and that's one of the things I feel like this movie is honestly, it holds up on a rewatch, and I also think that, kids can enjoy it, but I honestly think that it is kind of a movie where the more mature you are, the more you're going to take away from it, because, of course, with us, we love the nobility of Nacho in his character, and I am not necessarily sure that that's something that the kids are going to take away from it. I know when I was a kid, I wanted this movie to be goofier than it actually ended up being. And to tell you the truth, nowadays, looking at it through a lens of an adult, the fact that it's not over the top goofy, the fact that it is very, very low key and slice of life, makes me really love it. I mean, this really is one of the most auteur-driven and, self-confident Nickelodeon movies, I think. I mean, they just really let the director do what he wanted to do.
It's got an indie flair to it, which is really unusual for a Nickelodeon movie, and it kind of makes it stand out in a good way,
I mean, some moments are almost even Wes Anderson-esque.
Yeah, sure.
Especially when they're introducing all the wrestlers with the text, that kind of feels like
and their signature moves.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. All right.
I love the chariot, by the way. So the chariot is Nacho's bike, Nacho's motorbike.
Oh, yes.
It's nicknamed. They call it the chariot.
That's a great movie vehicle.
I love it. So I'm a vehicle nut, so I just went nuts. I love it. I thought it's so unique, and it's so cool in the way he revs it up and he's kind of looking behind it. It all works well. And I love the way they pose epically. We have this recurring thing between him and Steven. They do this handshake where they grab the forearms, then we kind of reverse the shot, and they're in a position on the chariot. Nacho's on the nose, he's basically striking almost like a. The old pose of Washington on the boat. It's kind of one of those poses. It's kind of strikes
right.
I love all the posing of Nacho. By the way, some of my favorite stuff is when he comes out of the bathroom and he's it's just the guy has such a great walk built into him. He's just kind of poses on the doorways of things constantly. The Jack Black
just kind of got a Derek Zoolander tendency to overpose.
That's the thing. Just the posing is just he cracks me with the poses even before we get to the verbal quotes of the comedy.
Right.
And all that thing. I love. Okay, so of course you know me. I love it. I don't mean to keep referencing Breaking Bad, so forgive me. But I love how Nacho and Steven get paid even though they lose, which I think is an ingenious device. And again, it's probably a realistic thing to get paid just for showing up, but not as much as obviously the title of the match, but you get paid nonetheless. And I love that it's kind of a Breaking Bad solution where, okay, well, Nacho has a flow of income now just for getting in the ring. So technically our character does not have to win at all. But again, he wants to win. So again, it's kind of like the whole, said, Walt, he's offered all the money to kind of solve all his problems, but he doesn't do that. Why doesn't he do that? So we gotta have the.
Yeah, that is a great device.
That was really cool to get that there. The opening's really great, and again, that's probably the most indie movie-esque part of the whole film, where we have the young Nacho montage start with "I'm a Religious Man," that whole thing playing. The costume on Nacho, I love the whole costume gag and how we assemble the the costume and all. Tiki, I think I'm sorry, I just noticed something. We're missing the banner. We're missing the thing.
Oh my God, you're right. Jesus.
I was just thinking of the scene where he's putting it on. I was thinking, yeah, Nacho's written on the cape and everything. The star, wait a minute.
There we go.
Anywho, God, what was I? Right. Again, I like Nacho accepting the moral by learning, basically to fight for the right reasons, and that in fact gives him the ability to win with that epic thing where he just kind of soars out of the ring. It's great.
Oh my God, that is a truly epic moment.
That it is. So let's know what the unless you guys have anything else in the pro category. No. Going pro.
I'm good.
Let's go con. So,
This
what do you
movie's
guys?
kind of got a pretty dirty color palette to it.
Has a wonderful kind of light blue though.
It's dirty in a satisfying way, though. You know.
I'm kind of honestly, I find very little to actually criticize with this movie as an adult, which I kind of find shocking. As a kid, though, okay, this is going to sound nitpicky, but this movie kind of has like the opposite of good food animation. Especially at the beginning, all the food looks really gross and
Well, that's the
off-putting.
point, though.
I know.
I would argue the corn makes up for it, like the corn on a stick.
Well, the corn and the salad.
That's what I'm saying.
Like I said, I'm kind of grasping at straws here. I don't have
How
much.
about that? How about that cactus juice?
I like the cactus juice.
I have some legit criticisms for it, though.
Okay.
So here's one big one. There's a real sense you get watching the movie if you really look at it. There's either a jumbled edit or there's something with the plotting here because a lot of scenes feel disconnected. I feel like, let me put it this way. Let me give you some examples. So there are moments in the movie that feel like they belonged in earlier scenes, or they maybe had got shuffled around the end edit of the movie or something. Because we have moments where, for example, the corn gag. I mean, as much as I love it, it's just a little it's kind of a button to a scene. I know they contemplated taking out basically their rides being jacked and the tires are being stabbed. And they basically Steven throws corn in the guy's eye.
Oh gosh!
Now, again, I know they were debating taking that out, but regardless, they had that. But I mean, more accurately, the whole the biggest thing that sticks out to me is okay. So they go to this party, go to Ramsey's party. And Nacho, he forgot to make the breakfast, and Encarnacion she brings this up, and Nacho's excuse is that he went to see a wrestling match. Now, again, she guesses like something along these lines, like, well, it sounds like in the earlier scene he would have gone to see a wrestling match. It sounds like they might have cut that out and instead put the party scene in there. You follow me?
Yeah, I follow you.
It just there are a few moments like that in the movie. Just feels like something's been switched around or something. Here's a big problem for me.
I mean, I honestly think some of that just kind of comes down to the directing style, because Napoleon Dynamite also kind of had the same sort of like freewheeling style to the editing.
That's fair, but here's one thing of the plotting. I think the biggest issue with the plotting is it's one moment, but it's still one moment that just really sticks out. Like, Nacho dramatically leaves twice, and I think that's a problem. He dramatically leaves to find himself twice. They should have gotten rid of that first scene where it's like, they're insulting, basically saying like, where are the chips, and you kind of failed us with the chips there, and he runs off, and it's like, well, that's the big dramatic leaving
and
moment.
he just comes back like the next day.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's a problem.
Honestly, though, Dragon, I feel like that kind of speaks to the slice of life thing I was talking about, where in any other movie he'd be setting off on some grand adventure, but no, realistically now he's just like going down the street to see about this homeless urchin to get him to be a tag team wrestler with him.
You might have a point there. You might.
I really do think a lot of the flaws you're pointing out are just Jared Hess being all weird and quirky and slice of lifey.
Okay, fair enough. Let me raise you another point I wanted to make here. So while we have the Jared Hess stuff, which is defendable, I'll give you that. I think there are some Nickelodeon fingerprints on the Jared Hess work here, where the fart jokes they seem mandated.
I mean, this movie doesn't have as many fart jokes as it could have had. All right,
that's fair, but I want to.
It's obligatory that this movie had to have fart jokes. It's a freaking Jack Black comedy in the 2000s, aimed at kids. But it's got maybe like 3 to 5 in the whole movie.
Well, you know what's funny? I heard that they were going to have more, and they stripped them out. Basically, you can see in the last fight where when Ramsey's kind of splitting his legs. I can imagine all the fart jokes they would have worked in there, but they took those out, from what I understand. But I don't know. What I'm saying, Tiki, is that some of it feels mandated, and it feels like that's Nickelodeon wording over the indie tone of the movie, the Jared Hess thing of the movie, and they're overcompensating with stuff like that, and some gross out humor like the eagle egg.
All right.
Yeah, it's not a major. I'm just throwing it out there. So there's not. Okay. You're right. There's not a lot wrong with the movie. Just like have a few bits like that. I think the later love songs that's just Jack Black indulging in some Jack Black song comedy. And it's like, it's a little.
I agree with that. I can get down like Jack Black having a goofy face as he sings.
Yeah, like the locker room one, not the other. So the other song we'll get to, but that's a fun one. But it's the later one. Also, the one other thing I gotta get you guys' opinions on this. All right, then we'll move on. What do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about the love subplot with with Steven and I think the promoter's daughter or something? The
Oh my
way the doll, the one with the room full of dolls, and she crawls through the hole, all that stuff. What do you think?
I honestly, it's so brief, I barely even remember it being there.
That's such a non sequitur. Like, I'll take the corn scene over that. I just say it's not a terrible scene. It just feels like we don't really pay it off, and it's just there for like, why is that there?
It's there so we can see a fat lady get a cello busted over.
Well, remember, it's like she's doesn't get hit with it. It's Steven that gets hit with it.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. She just crawls through a giant hole. And I know they're doing. My assumption is that Jared Hess doing some randomness there, which sure, but it's like there's no real. We don't see her. Like, she pops up like briefly in the fighters. That will like pay off like she has a thing for Steven. I don't know.
It's like in Napoleon Dynamite when with the random time travel scene. It makes no sense. Doesn't really serve
Oh my
the
god,
story.
I love the random time travel scene. Though.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just there and it works. And that's how I felt about this, where it doesn't really serve the story, but this weird bit with Steven and this daughter character, it's just it just feels right because it's just so funny.
Can I quote my favorite Napoleon Dynamite quote because we brought up the time travel scene?
What?
Wait, you forgot to put in the crystals. That is my favorite, mostly because every time I would watch that movie with my dad would get a big kick out of that line. So it's like a big thing with my dad and I, just like, wait, you forgot. Like every time we're like doing something like complicated and, you know, it's just like, wait, you forgot to put in the crystals. Like we're going ready to go driving and dad's like, and I'm just like, wait, you forgot to put in the crystals.
You must have gotten a kick out of Atlantis then.
Oh God. Anyways,
but no, like, I want to make it clear. So all these content, again, they're really small in the grand scheme of things. One of them might be points. If anything, they're stylistic kind of nods. If anything,
sure.
So nothing really harsh against this movie. I want to give it a point there. But again, these are really kind of nitpicks. It might be like an editing issue, but again, it might be the style. So it's kind of hard to tell.
All
right.
Sorry, guys.
All right.
Well.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
What's going on, Sandy?
No, I just dropped the mic. I'm sure that probably caused some disruption on your guys' end. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I just wanted to make sure you were still there.
No, I died.
Well, it honestly sounded like you rushed out of the room, so...
I'm not paying for his flowers.
God. All right, so who has the first favorite moment chronologically?
I think... Wait. Yeah, it's me, right? You don't take your moments.
I think my moment's last, yeah.
Right. So I love the toast scene. Don't ask me why. I love the toast scene. It's just that I was rewatching movies because it's been a while. I was like, oh yeah, the toast scene. I love this scene. You know, it's just such a it's a great way of getting Nacho talking with Encarnacion. At the same time, though, I just love that it's just such a random thing to, you know, it's such an unusual thing for them to be kind of like having essentially kind of a quasi date over, where it's like they're eating toast. It's like the most innocent meal you could have with somebody, like the most innocent, like kind of a olive branch to like, hey, let's chit chat, let's get to know each other here. It's like, hey, let's have some toast. He slides under the door and everything, but. The toast of it all aside, the randomness of the toast, and like this big garlic bready toast, like Texas toast, if you will. What is really great about this scene, though, is again, it does kind of frame what the movie's about, though. It kind of frames a lot of the, again, basically themes, again, the big, as I mentioned, basically the points I made about Encarnacion, her role in the story, and how basically she represents Nacho's endpoint, the lesson that Nacho needs to take away. Or basically, he's sharing in this conversation. One, we get a little bit of Nacho's parentage, where, you know, it's kind of, his parents were both kind of religious on different ends of the spectrum. They end up getting married, and they died, and, sadly. But it leads to this really wonderful moment when Nacho is mentioning that, you know, I saw a wrestler when I was getting groceries, and, you know, they threw daisies at him and gave him stuff. And, you know, I think I like that. You know, and of course she frames the issue of, luchadors are false idols, and basically kind of frames the issue of it. She gives them like some support, like, you know, things will get better. Essentially, it's kind of like saying, again, the lesson of the movie is really in that toast scene. As strange as it sounds, the whole theme of the movie is kind of in that scene where, you know, you got to have to accept where you are in life. But again, it's I don't know. There's a lot of real. It's a nice scene that kind of frames the movie to an extent.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dragon.
Yeah.
Am I next then?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have the party scene, more specifically the song that Nacho sings to Ramses in the spur of the moment. This great song. I think there is an extended version of it out there. I'm pretty sure there is. Anyways, you guys know the scene. It's just, oh my gosh, and everything leading up to it. I think just the entire party scene is one of the best scenes in the movie.
Hey man, look at my blouse.
Dragon, every one of our movies we've covered this month has had a party scene of some sort, right?
Let me think. Okay, there's a
Because
party.
Good Burger had the date, which I think kind of constitutes as a party.
Well, remember the opening of Mondeburger had a party in general, so there were
Right,
parties.
right.
There's a party there. There's a snow day. I mean, they're kind of having fun at the skating ring, and then you have series of unfortunate events. I guess the marvelous
The
marriage.
wedding is the party. Yeah,
the marvelous marriage is
Yeah.
kind of a party, and then okay. So let's just say there's a loose party thread, and I think we're distracting from Sandy's point here. We should get back to him. Sandy, go on.
Sorry.
Yeah, so pretty much everything leading up to this bit, I think one of my favorite lines in the entire film is when Steven he looks down to Nacho, who's just helped him up this wall, and he says, "Sorry, too fat. Good luck."
Oh god, the good luck! It's just so right. There's so many great lines between Nacho and Steve. One other line I want to get in there before we wrap up it all here. I just want to say, "Get that cone out of my face!"
Oh god.
Yes, so I think this scene just really it plays him really nicely to what basically what their relationship is. Like Steven just kind of stabs in the back, yet Nacho goes and literally slams a cello over his back later on. It's like he's still willing to stand up for him, even though he's kind of screwed him over in the beginning. But I think the whole singing thing just kind of ties that entire scene together because it's this great it's just funny. It's just this big funny thing. It just kind of sows this in all these different little these gags and the bit with Steven and the promoter's daughter. It ties it all together. It's really great.
Of course, with Ramses too, again, gives him like an exchange. It gives him an excuse to have an interaction with Ramses, where I believe I forget if it was the earlier scene or after. Yeah, I forget before or after. No, it had to be before when he exchanged the little conversation with him in the marketplace, where tries to get the autograph for the salad kid.
Yeah, and I think I totally believe that this is something that Jack Black would just sing in the spur of the moment, which I know it wasn't, but it's totally believable that
it is just kind of Jack Black comedy, like kind of musical comedy though when he does that sort of thing. I am singing at the party.
Yeah, plus he's a great singer too, so he can apply that to because he sings at least twice in the film, right?
I didn't tell you it was a bumpy start, but he kind of got me into it too. I got to admit, it was kind of catchy.
Anyway.
But Ramses is not dancing. He's not dancing at the party. Anyway.
God.
All right, Cheeky.
All right, so you guys mentioned tensions between Nacho and Steven, and that is exactly where my moment lies. It's the big quote unquote low of lows, but we already kind of mentioned what I love so much about this moment is that in any other moment, in any other movie, it would be the dramatic low of lows. You know what I mean? It would be like the moment where these two kind of like part ways, and we know they're going to get back together by the end of it, but oh no, we have to go through this forced drama. But here, what I love is like we do go through like Nacho says something. Steven says something very, very harsh, which I will get to in one moment. But it's like we know because this movie is a slice of life that this isn't going to ruin their friendship forever. And in a couple scenes from now, these two are back working together as it would be. It's like sometimes you got to let off steam, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I love this moment. That, and it also has perhaps one of the most quotable lines in the movie, which is, "I hate all orphans."
I hate all the orphans.
I hate them.
I hate all the orphans in the world. And what I love about this is like you could just hear where you could just hear the lack of conviction in Steven's voice when he's trying to make this like grand gesture of a of a statement. He's just like I hate all the orphans. He's so unsure of himself when he's saying it. It's like even he knows it's like so like stepping over a line with Nacho to say something like this.
Remember the
And then
payoff.
Nacho also is such a good guy that he knows that this isn't what Steven would actually say, and he's like, you don't mean this. You just letting off steam. It's okay.
Yeah, like he drags it like, what'd you say? Say it again in my face. What was that?
Then they do like the same way they lock horns for a moment there.
Have the Danny Elfman score.
Yeah, and we have that payoff too, where later on, after the whole like the little flashback of Stephen, running over the Bunyan, which so it was great that they helping orphan stealing bread there. But what's great is Nacho questioning the very exchange we're talking about here. He says, "I thought you hated all the orphans in the world." He says, "I don't. I like them now."
That's all you need, folks. That's all you need. You don't need some grand character arc. You just need to go from "I hate all the orphans" to "I like them now." It's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. I love it.
Yep.
No, what about his bunions are swollen really hard?
Oh God.
That's all you need, but they just took it the extra step and showed us exactly what happened in detail.
Yep.
All right, Ezra, why don't you start us off with final thoughts, my friend?
Final thoughts.
Yeah.
This movie, like you said before, this definitely has that rewatchable quality that Napoleon Dynamite has. I would love to just do a back-to-back Jared Hess movie night with Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre.
That would be a fun back-to-back movie night.
Yeah, I think so. With a big crowd would be even better. It's timeless. I think it's definitely grown within pop culture is just for all of its quotability and just it's Jack Black's performance. I think this is probably like the one people ask him to quote from the most when he's doing at conventions or just making appearances. I think it's a really great film.
Dragon?
In Nacho Libre, it's a simple film. It's very fun, but I think it's definitely coasting on Jack Black. But what's really great is kind of uses that as a point of momentum, and then kind of has these other elements that kind of help stabilize it as well. So like Jack Black's definitely the fuel of this movie. And I feel, then we have the elements kind of brought together by Hess and the grand scheme that kind of like then kind of stabilize it as a piece. I mean, it really, to be fair, I mean, look, it really feels like it could have been more in line with something like School of Rock. It does. I think there's a lot of potential there, but I feel there is something holding.
I honestly think it's better for not being like School of Rock.
Well, I don't mean like in terms of the exact like School of Rock. I mean, I think there's something here. I think there's something strong here, and again, I do love the fact that unlike so many Nickelodeon movies, this has just it's the best way I can describe it is again there's an indie movie vibe to this, and there's a heart to it, and I feel that's there. I just feel like I can't shake the feeling that there might have been like a distribution trade-off here, where again it's like we get the exposure by having Nickelodeon make this movie.
Right,
but
right.
that might hold it back from its full potential, and that's why we have certain things that might feel like maybe a little unpolished in the editing. Again, I can't tell that because it might be Hess's style, but by the same token, I don't know. It feels a little held back in some regards. Like, I didn't need like the poop joke in the training montage, and it feels like it's Nickelodeon just kind of like we have to pad our landing a little bit. And that kind of like it's like you have an indie movie versus like a studio release, and we have a studio release that feels like an indie movie. So it's kind of a mix of two worlds, and I feel that's like the only legit criticism I can really lob at Nacho, because again, it knows what it is. It's just kind of a fun movie. I mean, as far as the live action Nickelodeon movies go, it stands out, and probably the best, or at least it's the most tonally consistent of them with Nick and live action as a whole. I mean, Nick ordinarily, I think at the end of the day, Nick as a whole, he excels at animation, and every foray into live action can yield a myriad of unknown results. And I feel Nacho is one of those unknown results, which, I mean, again, it's surprisingly good. You look at it now, and then it was like, oh my God, it's another Jack Black movie. So, you don't know what you're going to get sometimes with Nick in live action. Sometimes it can be really bad. Sometimes it can be, well, it holds up. Sometimes it can be, well, it's a Nacho. That's kind of special.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Has Jared Hess done anything since Nacho of great significance?
Not that I know of.
The thing, I don't think of great significance.
Why is that? Because his movies are popular enough for him to, kind of get back in the scene, I would think.
Honestly, it could just be a case where, he probably worked on the Napoleon Dynamite show, and that maybe soured him to Hollywood.
Oh, really?
That honestly might have something to do with it.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of people who have done sour stuff like that and been just.
I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't want to end the podcast on like a note like this. So
No, I was just wondering because it's always been kind of a mystery to me why he hasn't really done anything.
Well, actually, you know what? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I was looking at it here. There's so double check. He's going to bug at me. He's done some stuff for TV. He did Mastermind. Remember that movie? Man, I don't think that performed well. Maybe that might. I think it was the one with Kirsten Wiig and the Zach Galifianakis. That one ringing any bells?
No.
He did that, and from what I understand, he's doing a Shanghai Nights sequel.
Oh, okay.
So that's interesting. Point being, it looks like he's working on things. I don't know how that's going to go from the point. He's working. It's just been a while since he's done the last thing he did was Masterminds. Looks like so. Again, not really much to speak of in those years, but yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
This makes you wonder what people like that do, and with all that time, like, how do they get paid? How do they pay rent?
Well, he did a TV series apparently. He did Making History a few years ago. I don't know if I doubt it's still going on because I haven't heard anything about this series, but no idea what it is. But apparently Lord Miller involved in it, so I don't know.
You see, I think he'd be a good pairing with them because I think I don't know. It just seems like that they seem like very similar minds to me.
All right.
I don't know. He seems like he'd fit right in there with Lord Miller, James Gunn. Anyways.
All right. Well, I don't want to end the podcast on this, so.
Yeah. What are your final thoughts, Jiggy?
Yeah, I just this movie really surprised me, guys. When I sat down and watched this today, I was not expecting much at all. Like I said, I think the reason I didn't like it as a kid is just because I feel like I wasn't mature enough to get it yet, in all honesty, because I feel like this is a very slow paced, very relaxed, very slice of life movie with a lot of indie qualities to it that I just wasn't cognitive of as a child. But yeah, nowadays looking at it, there's so much to appreciate about it. There's so many there's so many great quotes, and I kind of like the fact that it's so freewheeling in its plot structure. I like that it's got a non-traditional narrative to it. And just generally speaking, I definitely think it's one of Nickelodeon's best movies. It's definitely one of the movies they've done that really they let the director just kind of have a free reign over everything, with the exception of maybe a few mandated fart jokes. So yeah, overall, I think this was an incredibly solid thing to end Nickelodemonth out on, guys. I'm very satisfied with this one.
Yeah, me too.
Very true. Okay, Tiki, so speaking of which, we got to prepare for the next Nickelodemonth. All right, here's what I need you to get for me.
Oh, God. We already need to make plans for next Halloween. All right.
All right. So, okay, I need you to give me a time-manipulating watch.
Okay.
I need you to give me the guy who directed Ice Age, and maybe a few crimes against humanity in the form of films. And meet me at the blimp.
Crimes against humanity, but I'll go to jail. Oh, God, time-stopping watch. Is Wallace Shawn in that movie? I don't even remember. Oh, God, Dragon. How am I supposed to know who directed Ice Age? That movie was like 20 years old at this point. Dragon. Oh, God. Here it goes. Next time on... Nickelodemonth. No, I like them now.
Nacho